A woman hospitalised after being struck by rocks falling from a building. Government outlines its strategy of attracting investment to drive revenue for various initiatives. Fisherfolk undergoing training that could lead to National Vocational Qualifications, and in sports, the Warriors triumphant in the 2023 CPL.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowie. A woman walking in the city got the shock of her life today. She was struck by chunks of rock that broke off of a building. That incident resulting in her being hospitalized. Wendy Burke has more details.
A trip through the city resulted in injury for a woman as she was walking on the sidewalk in front of Hunt's Bar on Lower Tudor Street. It was around 11:33 a.m. when pieces of the building fell from the roof area and struck her. The limestone rock remained on the street, also hit this store sign. Fire Chief Errol Maynard spoke with the media about the incident and said a building assessment has to be done.
That lady was treated by the emergency ambulance service personnel and taken to the QH. We are currently here on site. We are awaiting the arrival of the personnel from an engineer from MTW to assess the building to see how stable it is. But what we can see is that there are some cracks in the building. The building seems to be compromised, but we need a professional engineer, a civil engineer, to look at it and determine whether or not the building has to be destroyed or otherwise.
He added that she complained of back pains and was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Following the incident, the area was cordoned off. Wendy Burke, CBC News.
Wendy, thank you. Barbados' thrust to secure investment is part of government's strategy to generate revenue that can then be used to improve the quality of life for citizens. This from Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Ryan Strawn, who says government understands there is a social contract on which it has to deliver. He says as investments are unlocked, initiatives are undertaken. Minister Strawn was addressing the Barbados Labour Party's St. Michael's South Central Branch meeting last evening.
We adopted a specific strategy that allowed investors to invest, but government to get access to lands, which coincidentally then allowed us to be able to launch a very aggressive housing program, because many of you may be aware, some people apply to NHC for years and 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 years. You ain't hear nothing for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. Why is that? Because there was no policy or framework in place to move from an application stage to selecting number 12 or number 13 in X place.
Minister Strawn says through education reform, Barbados is also securing its future.
It's going to cause people to think about, oh boy, I want my child to go to this school, I like that school, and all of that. It is not about which school now. We have to make sure that every school provides the right type of education that suits the strengths of our children. And therefore, you're going to have to make some choices, yes. But every school, we must commit as a country that every school will be the best school in whatever the area is that is the strength. Because if we do not unlock the talents of Barbadians, the talents, then we will not see or benefit fully from the new paths with respect to social investment.
Addressing that meeting, Member of Parliament for the constituency, Marcia Cadell, called for self-employed people to have greater and easier access to banking services, including mortgages.
You have a financial system, from banks to credit unions, to everybody, that says to a self-employed person, that says to a contract worker, you are not employed as far as I'm concerned. And on that basis, I cannot lend you a cent. I don't know what it will take for us to understand that work looks different today. And I understand that the banks, the financial institutions have to do their due diligence to make sure that they're going to get paid back. And there are all kinds of ways to do that.
Barbados does not want the upcoming United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP28, to be just a talk shop. Prime Minister Mia Motley shared the view as she zeroed in on previous commitments and lack of action. She also stressed that short-term debt won't cut it for countries on the front lines of the climate crisis. The Barbadian leader was among the panel for a recent discussion hosted by the Global Clinton Initiative on funding Earth's future, how to scale finance in frontline communities.
Loss and damage cannot be on the basis of loans. It has to be on the basis of grants, because we're already taking loans and higher indebtedness with respect to adaptation and resilient building. Now, why am I being made to pay for that when I did not cause it? And why am I then being made to leave out and omit in essential spending in education and healthcare after centuries of underdevelopment by exploitation from other countries who, quite frankly, are at the front line of causing the problem? So this is not...
Ms. Motley added that a way must be found to finance countries to net zero.
Countries like mine that do have gas potential and oil, and I'm prepared to put oil one side, but unless somebody pays us for the gas, my population is going to ask me, why are we not pursuing our gas? And gas is a bridging fuel. Gas is recognized as with oil, ironically, as 20% of the mix in 2050 for net zero. So that these are the real issues, and why should those countries who are already in oil and gas, who are already benefiting and have the resources, but are not necessarily on the front line, why should they be the only ones benefiting? That's what a Guyana, who has forests that are significant, will want to know.
A concerted effort is being made to ensure Fisherfolk are certified. As part of the initiative, over a dozen of them will be undergoing training that could lead to National Vocational Qualifications. Sharika Griffith reports.
Over the next 12 weeks, 15 members of the fishing community will be trained in seamanship operations and fishing vessels.
I think it will help young fishermen to gain more experiences and chances. I would like more of the youth to come my trade, because the industry really, truly needs them.
President of the Barbados National Union of Fisherfolk Organizations, Vernal Nichols, says it's all part of an effort to improve the skill sets in the industry.
We are going to look at certifying the industry and making sure that persons are competent in their fields and that persons don't just pick up a boat and go out. And then, you might have a knowledge and an idea, but the BDF, as they speak to you, they would show you that there is more to just taking up a boat and going out to sea. We want you to be able to go and return safely.
The training is being facilitated by the Barbados Defence Force Training and Development Institute and the Barbados Coast Guard. The Institute's Standards Officer, Colour Sergeant Hilroy Stout, explained it will be done in 2 phases.
Phase 1 is where we're going to deal with the seamanship operations. Basically, during that phase, we're going to be looking at things like safety of life at sea, how to safely navigate and handle a vessel, as well as preparing for long voyages and also short voyages. At the end of that first phase, then we will move on to phase 2, which will be the fishing vessel operations level 3. You guys that have been in the industry for a bit, then start to teach us and yourselves a bit more on sustaining industry, how to prepare for a catch, how to store the catch.
The participants, who are at varying stages of their fishing careers, are eager to learn.
I have inherited the responsibility of taking care of a boat. I don't have any experience, so I think it could not have come at a better time.
A lot of fishermen out there, as we call them, a GPS fisherman. Without the GPS, they can't get home. The first aid, a lot of guys don't know how to perform basic CPR or basic first aid training. So that is a very, obviously that's not safe. Accidents happen very quick out to sea. Sometimes you're boning a fish or cleaning the dolphin, and the boat rock or pitch bad, and you cut yourself, you go off the shore because it's a really bad, and all of that stuff is very important.
The training is being funded by global resource firm BHP, which has been awarded offshore blocks around Barbados. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
We'll take a break here, but coming up, just how much time will each partner get when government implements its parental leave policy? We'll tell you what's being considered. Government is considering establishing parental leave to allow both parents to split time off to care for their child. Labour Minister and Member of Parliament for St. Peter, Colin Jordan, provided the update during a Barbados Labour Party constituency meeting last evening. He said while the initial proposal had been for the introduction of paternity leave, the issue of parental leave had come up during consultations.
In some situations, for example, mothers have said it would be better for me to take 2 months and allow the father to take 2 months. Right now that can't happen because there's a settlement for maternity leave. So we have to put conditions in place to make sure that one parent doesn't take all, but that the parents have some latitude to be flexible in the arrangements. That is where our thinking is. It has not yet gone to cabinet for decision, so it's not policy, but that is where our thinking is. We've shifted a little bit.
Minister Jordan has previously stated that consideration was being given for a total parental leave of 6 months. The Barbados Fire Service is broadening its scope to include other skill sets within its cadet program, so says Minister of Home Affairs Wilfred Abrams, who's encouraging more interested people to apply to the program as it is a launching pad for exposure to a myriad of career options. Minister Abrams made the remark during a church service to start Fire Service Week at the Bethel Methodist Church on Bay Street.
I want those of you who are minded to see this as a possible path for advancement. Advancement for training, advancement to become anything that you want to be. There are many training opportunities in the Barbados Fire Service. As I said, the drone technology is there. The IT is there. All of the skill sets are there. You may start in the fire service and advance to something else, the police, the BDF, some other area that can benefit our country. So I'm proud of you for being here and sticking it out. And I urge you, please, to take it seriously.
Minister Abrams believes more recognition needs to be given to fire officers for their heroic acts. He notes that officers go out on a limb daily in offering to help people in distress without considering their own well-being.
When we think of our heroes, well, for me, the fire service comes to mind almost immediately, but for many of you, it may not. We think of police, we think of the army. But every fire officer that leaves his family to go to work on any given day is not assured that he's going to return home. The families of fire officers pray when they leave and they go to work. Because it's not just about them keeping themselves safe. They may actually endanger their lives in the course of their duties, and it's important in the course of their duties because it is expected that they would put their life on the line.
Time now for us to take a look at sports, and there was jubilation all around last night, but perhaps justifiably so. Good evening, Damien.
Good evening to you, Pearson. Good evening to our viewers and listeners. The Barbados senior women's football team will be looking to register back-to-back victories on the road to the inaugural CONCACAF W Gold Cup when they clash against host Dominican Republic tomorrow night. It is a Group C League B fixture at the Estadio Olímpico Felix Sanchez Stadium in Santo Domingo. The Lady Tridents are full of confidence after a perfect start in their campaign last Friday with a 5-0 thrashing of St. Vincent and the Grenadines at the BFA Wildy Turf. Barbados currently sit at the top of the table on 3 points and a +5 goal difference following that convincing performance. They will now turn their attention towards Caribbean neighbours Dominican Republic, and a match is set for 7 p.m. Barbados time. We wish them all the very best.
In tonight's business report, Bathsheba's quest to become the entertainment capital of the East was enhanced when the 2023 Barbados Food and Rum Festival popped up in the community Saturday afternoon. Director of Public Relations at the Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated, April Thomas, told the business report that the BTMI has been putting lots of work into the annual event and is paying off.
This year we've seen more visitors than we've ever seen for the festival, and that's because BTMI has been out there on the road promoting food and rum, taking Bajan chefs and mixologists all over the world, US, UK, Latin America, everywhere to tell everybody about this festival. And we're seeing group bookings coming in from Canada, Latin America, Trinidad, the US. People are really excited about the festival this year, and I think one of the most exciting events is going to be the Bajan Fair. That is $20 for adults, $10 for children. Children under 3 are free at Kensington Oval on the Saturday, October 21st, from 3 p.m. until 3 a.m., so 12 hours of entertainment.
Well, 5 community pop-ups have been completed, and the BTMI official has been impressed with the response, noting it augurs well for the future.
I think the energy for this year's festival is beyond anything we've seen in the most recent years. People are excited, people want to get information, they're signing up for the events, even the lectures, the talks that we've been having. The one we had last Sunday was sold out at UE. So people are just really hungry for the festival, I think, this year, and really showcasing what the local chefs and mixologists have to offer.
The demand for sedan vehicles is on the decline, according to one of the island's leading car dealers. Director of Sales at local Toyota dealers NASCO Limited, Roger Moore, told the business report a number of factors are responsible for the shift away from sedans.
This is because of the invention of the crossovers and the SUVs, and the price ranges of the passenger vehicles are very close to the crossovers and SUVs, so that's the reason why you find that the entire market and the world is going in the direction of both crossovers and SUVs and even pickups.
Mr. Moore adds, however, that there is still a market for the sedan, and mindful of that, NASCO has introduced the all-new Agya. He is confident it will do well in the local market.
We are very excited about this new vehicle coming in at a time when the market seem to increase. The volume of sales usually comes in at the end of the market, so we are very excited and looking forward to this model doing well and fitting into the industry.
Time for that second half in sports. As promised, here's Damien Best.
Thanks so much, Pearson. Well, there were victories for 2 out of 3 players representing Barbados on the opening day of the Scottish Draughts Open. Playing at the Royal Legion British Hall in Stonehaven, Scotland, former world champion Ronald Suki King won both of his games against Frank Moran of Ireland. Meanwhile, Kent Lane registered a 1-0 win over Ireland's Sean Phillips. Unfortunately, though, Jack Francis lost his opening contest to Sean McCusker, also of Ireland. All 3 men will be back in action on the boards tomorrow. Well, Julian Belgrave was the standout performer for Barbados at the just concluded Central American and Caribbean Bodybuilding and Fitness Championships in Aruba over the weekend. Belgrave was the winner of the Masters Men's Physique competition before he returned to finish 3rd in the Senior Men's Physique category. Barbados also picked up 4 second-place finishes through Gerard Mason in the Senior Men's Classic Physique, Rashida Belgrave in the Senior Women's Body Fitness, Bukai Providence in the Senior Men's Physique, and Danielle Gill in the Senior Women's Bikini section. Trudy Ann Bovell finished 3rd in both categories in which she competed in, the Masters Women's Bikini and the Senior Women's Bikini section. Shaniqua Allenby also picked up a 3rd-place finish in the Open Women's Fit Model competition. The other members of the Barbados team, Hugo Graves was 4th in the Senior Men's Classic Bodybuilding. Michaela Gigi Faria was also 4th in the Senior Women's Bikini Fitness. Sanaj Lewis was just outside the top honors in the Senior Men's Bodybuilding in 4th. And first-timer Ronaldo Bourne was 6th in the Senior Men's Classic Physique. Well, the Lodge School has launched its Sports Hall of Fame with the inaugural induction ceremony at the Hilton Hotel last evening. 18 outstanding sportsmen and women were the first to be afforded the honor for their contributions. CBC's Anne-Marie Burke reports.
From the disciplines of track and field, football and cricket, the law school can now boast of having a sports hall of fame with 18 inductees. From national sportsmen and women to Olympians, the school has a rich sporting history, which was the focus of the induction dinner held at the Barbados Hilton Hotel, with President Her Excellency the Most Honorable Dame Sandra Mason in attendance. The inductees are from cricket, David Allen, Teddy Foster, Floyd Reefer, and posthumously the late Tony Cozier, John Goddard, Roy Marshall, and Tim Tarleton. In football, there's Dr. Ken Herwood and the late Lloyd Seal. Track and field, Dr. Ronald Clark, His Excellency Noel Lynch, Siebert Strawn, Brian Talma, James Wedderburn, and the lone female Sheena Gooding, whose award was collected by her parents. Under the category of school greats, there is Mac Welling Todman and the late Samuel Scott and Tyrone Smith. In delivering the featured address, inductee His Excellency Noel Lynch, an Olympian and Barbados' ambassador to the United States and the OAS, attributes much of his professional and academic success to the foundation he gained at his alma mater, saying that the balance between sports and academics makes a more rounded individual.
At the lodge, one was just surrounded by brilliance in every sphere of activity. You had no choice but to be brilliant overall. Even if we were not celebrated as such by our national standards of academic achievement. Lodge taught us all so many life lessons. We were taught love of people, love of school, love of country, and a standard of patriotism that, in my opinion, is lost on so many of our citizens today. Lodge also taught us that in developing the whole being, the extracurricular pursuits are just as important as pure academic rigor. For all of those that are seemingly still not aware, the two can mix, a most prodigious mix, if I might say so myself.
Pioneered by the Law School Alumni Association, the next list of inductees is already being formulated. Anne-Marie Burke, CBC Sports.
Well, this just into us. The Chief Education Officer, Dr. Ramona Archer-Bradshaw, is tonight responding to reports that some temporary teachers have not been paid their salary today. Dr. Archer-Bradshaw says this was the result of the late receipt, or in some cases, no receipt of recommendations for continuation of acting assignments for the affected teachers.
Reports supporting recommendations to allow continuation of acting assignments are due by the end of the academic year. This year, the due date was the 14th of July, 2023. Additionally, recommendations for continuation are to be endorsed by the Board of Management and submitted for approval before teachers can be added to the payroll for the new academic year. However, the majority of these recommendations were received by the ministry after the deadline for the payroll cycle. In fact, some of these recommendations are still outstanding. The ministry will convene a meeting with the relevant staff at the schools to institute the necessary improvements to ensure that the process is completed in a timely manner in the future. In the meantime, the ministry has instructed the affected schools to undertake urgent processing of payments to ensure that teachers receive their salaries by the end of the business day on Tuesday, the 26th of September, 2023.
Well, that's our time tonight. Thank you for spending it with us. I'm Pearson Bowen for the crew. To all of you, good night. By God's will, we'll see you tomorrow.